esteemed dignitaries, Dr. Rajgopal Chidambaram, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, Shri Shiv Prasad Kennard, Shri Umesh Kumar Rastagi, distinguished guests, fellow scientists, and ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you. I would like to invite our dignitaries to the dais, Dr. Rajgopalan Chidambaram, please. Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, Shri Shiv Prasad Kennard, Shri Umesh Kumar Rastagi, and Suresh Gangotra. I am Dr. Minal Matre, and it is my immense pleasure to welcome you all this evening. We celebrate the launch of Dr. Rajgopalan Chidambaram's latest literary work titled India Rising, Memoir of a Scientist, co-authored by Dr. Suresh Gangotra and published by Penguin Random House, India. Dr. Chidambaram is well known in the field of science, and his pioneering scientific contributions serve as an inspiration to all. He has worked closely with visionaries Dr. Homi Bhabha and Dr. Raja Ramanna in shaping India's nuclear program and strategic technologies. Dr. Chidambaram's unwavering dedication has also propelled the nation towards sustainable and secure energy solutions. His work in the field of nuclear physics and nuclear energy speaks volumes of his exceptional intellect, passion, and commitment to advancing knowledge and bringing international acclaim to our country. Dr. Suresh Gangotra, the co-author of the book, has been instrumental in implementing IAEA safeguards and separation plans at nuclear facilities in India. His expertise in the field and his close association with Dr. Chidambaram has resulted in a captivating and insightful book that meticulously traces Dr. Chidambaram's illustrious scientific journey. Today we gather here to celebrate Dr. Chidambaram's intellectual brilliance and his commitment to sharing this wisdom acquired over decades of devoted research and public service, and this book captures his contributions to India's scientific landscape and will undoubtedly serve as a valuable resource for students, researchers, and policymakers alike. On behalf of everyone here today, I extend my sincere gratitude and warm congratulations to Dr. Chidambaram for generously sharing his experiences, and to Dr. Gangotra for skillfully presenting them in this book. May Dr. Chidambaram's legacy continue to inspire all to strive for a brighter and more sustainable future. Thank you. I am pleased to introduce to you Shri Umesh Kumar Rastagi, the Director of Nehru Science Centre, Mumbai. Shri Rastagi graduated from Hindu College, Sonipat, Haryana, and completed his MSc and MPhil in physics from Kurukshetra University. Shri Rastagi began his career as a lecturer and later joined Raman Science Centre and Planetarium, Nagpur, a unit of National Council of Science Museums, NCSM, Ministry of Culture, Government of India, in 1994. After 5 years, he moved to Nehru Science Centre, Mumbai, another NCSM unit, where he served until 2013. He took charge of Regional Science City, RSC, Lucknow, for 3 years before returning to NSC Mumbai in 2017, and he continues to work here. Throughout his tenure at various NCSMs, He initiated educational programs and led education sections. Shri Rastagi actively participated in the development of exhibitions and galleries, notably Science of Ocean, Science for Children, Hall of Computing, Story of the Poles, Ends of the Earth, Climate Change, and many others. He also contributed to the creation of educational kits and organized national level events to promote science, including the National Science Seminar and the National Science Drama Festival. He has translated 2 books and written articles for newspapers and magazines. Shri Rastagi is actively involved in the publication of the in-house magazine Sci Mail at Nehru Science Center, Mumbai, and the Regional Science City, Lucknow. I request Shri Rastagi to kindly deliver the welcome address. Shri Rastagi.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. A.K. Mohanty ji, respected Dr. R. Chidambaram ji, Dr. Suresh Gangotra ji, Shri Ashim Kennedy ji, and all the distinguished dignitaries sitting off the dais. It's a great moment and indeed a great pleasure for me and for NCSM to extend a warm welcome to all of you to this great event, I should say, in the history of Nehru Science Center as well as NCSM, of launching a book by none other than written by Dr. R. Chidambaram with Dr. Suresh Gangotra. But let me first welcome all our guests by offering a potted plant, and then I will continue my further speech. In fact, I'm really excited to have this program here, and let me say a big thank you for allowing us to hold this launching in Nehru Science Center auditorium. We have certain connections also. It's not that only because of Science Center, but when I was working with the education section, I have seen Dr. Chidambaram coming frequently to Science Center with his grandchildren, taking them to the different galleries, and I have seen it quite often also. That's one good connection. They have been our guiding force, this beyond doubt, because science, when we talk about Science Center, what we make, what we do, they have been always guiding us. On many occasions, Dr. Chidambaram has been on this dais. I think he will also feel like a homecoming for him on various seminars, symposium, inauguration also on special exhibitions. Then there are other things as well. One more important, before I say more, one more important connection when I was reading about you, sir, I found that your date of birth is 11th November, which is the day exactly, I should say 50 years from that date. This Science Center was inaugurated on the same day, 11th November. So I think that's a big connection, that Nehru Science Center was established on 11th November 1985, and you were born 11th November 1936, if I read it correctly. So that's a great connection and an occasion that you are here, or you are here with us for launching your book also. It's always good. In fact, good that you have written a book. When we talk about 1974 or 1999, 98, Pokhran Test 1, Test 2, that has really inspired many people to write book on those. I think Dr. Raja Ramana wrote a book after 74. And then there were two foreigners also after 98, they have written books. So it's good that you have written, because you have been directly involved. You have seen the 74 also, and you have been the particularly very special to this 98. So what you will write, because these are the things perhaps which will never come into the public domain. There are many aspects of that because they are highly secret, you can say. So it will be good when you write something that will be a great motivation or inspiration. Because what kind of leader, I can recall when we have read about Wings of Fire, they have mentioned about what kind of leadership, what kind of mentorship they have got, and how they have been groomed. So I read somewhere also that you have been working on projects for which you have been told that nothing has to be on record. Somewhere I heard, because you are working on a very secret project, so nothing can be on record. So maybe when you will write, something will out of that, people will come, and that will be a great motivation for people, I mean, as well as to scientists, as well as the young leaders or budding scientists or coming up generation. So I think I'm really, I don't have the words to say that when they have asked me that can you organize this, so I have no words. I'm not saying taking any more time on that, because we will be better if we listen directly to the conversation from Dr. Chidambaram and Dr. Mohanty, and when they will be interacting with Suresh Gangotra ji and Mr. Kenneth. Once again, welcoming you for this occasion to Nehru Science Center. Maybe I will wish you come again and guide us and tell us what we can do so that our new generation or coming generation, we can serve them better in terms of science and technology, and how we can take it towards the developed nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shri Rastagi, for your warm welcome and kind words. Dr. Suresh Gangotra, co-author of Dr. Chidambaram's biography, is a gold medalist in metallurgical engineering from MS University, Baroda. He graduated from BRC Training School in 1984 and subsequently contributed significantly to BRC and DAE Secretariat. His extensive research areas include nuclear fuel fabrication, post-irradiation examination of irradiated fuels, nuclear safeguards, and nuclear security. In 2009, Dr. Gangotra joined DAE headquarters as the head of Safety, Security, and Safeguards Division. His exceptional expertise led to his appointment as Senior Technical Advisor to the Chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission. He has been an instrumental member of negotiating teams for international civil nuclear cooperation with multiple countries, thereby representing India on international platforms, such as the Nuclear Security Summit, Global Initiative to Combat Nuclear Terrorism, and Convention of Physical Protection of Nuclear Material. In addition to his contributions to Dr. Chidambaram's biography, Dr. Gangotra is also a co-author of Fire and Fury, Transforming India's Strategic Identity, which details the life and achievements of Dr. Anil Kakodkar. Presently, he serves as a Raja Ramanna Fellow with the Department of Atomic Energy, continuing to contribute significantly to the field of nuclear science and technology. I request Dr. Gangotra to share his experiences with us. Dr. Gangotra.
Thank you, Dr. Matre. Respected Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. Mohanty, Shri Kenneth, Shri Rustagi, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Chidambaram for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the book, and to Dr. Mohanty for facilitating it. You will read about the science achievements of Dr. Chidambaram in the book. However, I feel that an additional chapter on the compassionate aspect of Dr. Chidambaram's persona would much be in place. I would like to name the chapter Dr. Chidambaram, the Santa Claus. I am reminded of an interesting incident that happened last week. We were traveling together in Dr. Chidambaram's office car to Andheri for a podcast, Beer Biceps. It was raining heavily. Dr. Chidambaram looked out of the window and said, "In this heavy rain, how would the homeless having no shelter manage?" Soon our car halted at a signal and we saw few children selling flowers. One girl knocked at his window and Dr. Chidambaram immediately lowered the glass and took out his purse and gave a 100-rupee note to the girl and told her, "Keep the money, don't bother about the flowers." She was thrilled. She went back to her friends to inform that what had happened. At once, all of them rushed to our car urging us for money. Dr. Chidambaram exhausted all his 100-rupee notes in no time. Then he had to tell them that, "Sorry, I have no more." That day it was a very long drive back from Andheri where we had gone for this recording. And he was receiving phone calls from his office regularly. Lavkesh is sitting here. So someone had a relative admitted to the BRC hospital and he needed Dr. Chidambaram's intervention for some help at the hospital, BRC hospital. Dr. Chidambaram told his office to give his number to the caller and he offered to help. Well, that is what Dr. Chidambaram is. Just a day before, the car was dropping me home after our meeting and I noticed a big bag full of notebooks in the car. Along with the notebooks, I saw there were many stationery items like notebooks, pencil boxes, geometry boxes, pens, etc. I was wondering, what was Dr. Chidambaram writing so much about that he needs so much of stationery? When I inquired with the staff, they told me that he buys stationery and distributes to needy children almost on a daily basis. Well, this was simply overwhelming. I would like to call his bag of stationery the Santa Claus bag. He once narrated an incident how when he was in the US, he had helped a bright underprivileged student monetarily with his fees in US dollars. Although he told me his name, but he would like inputs for the book from him. He forbade me from mentioning that about his monetary help to the young entrepreneur, who now is a very successful man. Unfortunately for us, we could not get his inputs for the book in time for the publication. Before I conclude, let me once again thank Dr. Chidambaram and Dr. Mohanty. And Dr. Chidambaram, by his own admission, likes to read quotes and use them as well. One such quote is that of John Bradford in reference to a group of prisoners being led to execution. Dr. Chidambaram always uses it, and I would like to use it too for myself. It is what Dr. Chidambaram often says upon seeing a beggar through the window from the comfort of his home. "But for the grace of God, there go I." Thank you.
Sri Rastagi has received a letter, an email from Director R.R. Cat, S.V. Nake, and he would like to read it out to you. It is for Dr. Chidambaram.
Dr. Shankar Nake, he is our executive chairman, and we invited him to join the occasion, but he said that he could not, but he would like to send a message. I will read out on behalf of Dr. Shankar Nake. Thank you very much for the invitation to the program of launch of the book titled India Rising, Memoir of a Scientist, written by Dr. R. Chidambaram with Dr. Suresh Gangotra. I would have been extremely happy to be there for this event. I had many interactions with Dr. R. Chidambaram, and every interaction with him had been a great learning experience for me. His views expressed in short, witty comments or in detail scientific presentations on topics ranging from nuclear technology, national knowledge network, international nuclear diplomacy, taking scientific development from lab to land, science, education, etc., gave me a new direction of thinking. Recently, I had an opportunity to travel with him from Calcutta to Kharagpur. During that journey, I expressed my wish that he should write his biography, as that will be a great way of knowledge transfer to the next generation and generations to come. I'm sure this must have been expressed to him by many persons. I'm very much delighted that the wish is getting launched uh, and a reality today. I'm missing this program due to other commitment here. Convey my pranam to Dr. R. Chidambaram sir and Dr. A.K. Mohanty sir. Thank you.
It is now time for the much awaited book release event of the evening. I invite our esteemed chief guest, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, to kindly release Dr. Chidambaram's book, India Rising, Memoir of a Scientist, co-authored by Dr. Suresh Gangotra and published by Penguin Random House, India. Thank you, Dr. Mohanty. Our chief guest this evening, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, is an esteemed figure in the field of nuclear science. He completed his education with honors in physics from MPC College, Baripada in 1979 and his MSc degree from Ravenshaw College, Cuttack in 1981. He joined the Nuclear Physics Division of BRC in 1983 after graduating from the 26th batch of BRC training school and later obtained his doctorate from Mumbai University. Over the course of his impressive 40-year career, Dr. Mohanty has worked in several areas of nuclear physics using a range of energies, covering collision energy from sub-Coulomb barrier to relativistic regime using the Pelletron accelerator at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Phoenix, pioneering high-energy nuclear interaction experiment at Brookhaven National Laboratory, USA, and CMS, compact neon solenoid experiments at CERN, Geneva. Dr. Mohanty has been recognized with numerous awards and honors. He received the gold medal for Radha Govinda Trust at his graduation and went on to win the Young Physicist Award from the Indian Physical Society in 1988, the Indian National Science Academy Young Scientist Award in 1991, and the Homi Bhabha Science and Technology Award, Department of Atomic Energy, in 2001. Dr. Mohanty has also held various distinguished positions. He served as Secretary and Member Secretary of BRNS Basic Sciences Committee from 2004 to 2010, and was the General Secretary of the Indian Physics Association, IPA, from 2012 to 2016. He later became the President of IPA until 2020. He has been CERN Scientific Associate twice, first during 2002 to 4, and again during 2010-11. He was the spokesperson for the India CMS collaboration, ex-director of Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics, and ex-director of Physics Group at BRC. In 2019, Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty was appointed Director of Bhabha Atomic Research Center. In May this year, he took charge as Chairman of Atomic Energy Commission of India and Secretary to Government of India, DAE. I invite Dr. Mohanty to kindly deliver his address. Dr. Mohanty.
Respected Chidambaram sir, Madam Chidambaram, Sri Prasad ji, and Dr. Gangotra, Sri Umesh Kumar ji, and all distinguished dignitaries in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. As rightly told, many people might have inspired or instigated Dr. Chidambaram to write his biography, but probably the actual trigger came in 2021, sometimes in November, when I was sitting with him. By the way, he comes regularly to BRC, not very hardly he misses nowadays. So I was just chit-chatting with him after the book Fire and Fury was brought out. I said, why not you also write a book? Then this is how Gangotra, I told Gangotra has written that book, and I arranged a meeting with him, and this is how it started. But then the book came out very fast. And what all is written in the book, you will see, it is the India really rising from his personal memories, because he has spent in BRC since 1962, almost more than 60 years. And his life story will be half a century history of Department of Atomic Energy. So that is how the book is, and I will not be telling much on the book, you have to read it. But in the book, two things I just noticed, it has come out very well. One is, three things. The first one is, he has a photographic memory. If he sees you once and interacts, it will not only remember by face, he will remember by name also, which is difficult for me. I could see that many people bear face, but I will be wondering what is the name. And very embarrassing for me. And I will behave as if I know him by face as well as name also. But then he will, very different, you must have noticed it. And that is because, from the book it is evident, because he remembered that he has been lost at the age of 2 from his house when he was in Meerut. And he could come back with the help of some people around that. He studied in Meerut. And he was born also there, I don't know. But he studied there. But he remembers that he has lost at the age of 2. That is a very rare memory people should have. And second thing is, he respects his teachers, his gurus. He gives a lot of respect to his students and colleagues. And that is clear when he has narrated in his book, when he was a PSA, much later, many years later. He was going to Meerut via Meerut from Delhi to Roorkee. And then he remembered that his school he will visit. And he went there on the way. And he inquired what is the first teacher. And teacher name is, I have written down, Fateh Singh Phatak. Respected Fateh Singh Phatak, because he is the guru of Sir Chidambaram. And it is a very rare occasion, because when he met him, Fateh Singh, he was telling him that one of my students is PSA, he is Chidambaram. So you see, has a nostalgic moment, and very few people will do that. And this is what I love for the teacher. And not only teacher, for rest of the people also, those who have worked with him, particularly I have worked ever since I joined. I joined in 1982, 83 Nuclear Physics Division, and that time he was a division head. Afterwards he became group director, chairman, then he left for PSA. Again came back in 2018 when I was director of the physics group. And since then I have been interacting. And as you are told, I have not got many awards, but one young awards I have got from INSA in 91 or 92 rather. And he was group director that time. And I suddenly surprised when somebody told me that Dr. Chidambaram has called you for a cup of tea. And I just went. And it was a cup of tea celebrating my award. And that gave me much more than what I got from an award. And he does this for everybody. And this is the rare quality. I don't know, sir, whether you remember, I remember it. So, third thing that you will read in the book, that is the peaceful nuclear explosion. Book describes about it, but I will put in my way. And 2 days back we are celebrating DAE Day. DAE was created in 3rd August 1954. So we had a small get together. Chidambaram sir was the guest of honor, gave a talk. In that context I told, but I will put slightly differently what it means to me, that PNE. And in fact, that Pallab Bagla, who is a journalist, he has written a nice article on this. I just, let me describe with you I told something on third also, but slightly, many colleagues are here, they must have heard from me, but I will slightly deviate what I told. So what I told is that there is a movie now going on viral, that is Christopher Nolan's picture on Robert Oppenheimer, and probably it is going to be one of the best movie, looks like that. It has earned a lot, 820 crores in India rupees, high budgeted, and probably it will become one of the best sellers, no doubt about that. Because the discovery of Oppenheimer is not only the greatest activities, although it comes with the greatest regret also later on, but it is the greatest work, and no doubt about that. And it is the film all about. And Paulo Bagla refers that same thing happened in India also much later in 1974-98. And he describes them that India is not lagging with Oppenheimer. There are many Desi Oppenheimers. And he refers to Rajaramanna, Chidambaram, Kakodkar, everything. And I quoted this saying that what is for us, the DA people, rest of us, we are taking pride that we belong to the family of Desi Oppenheimer. That is our credit. So, and indeed it is so. And India, sir showed a picture, that the Venn diagram he called. He said that when USA did it, there are three circles are intersecting. One is USSR and UK. It is inside. He says UK was working very closely with USSR. So although it is Oppenheimer, but it is a Manhattan project, not a single person. A lot of people are working, starting from Fermi, Enrico Fermi, Chicago Pile 1. First, the chain reaction was established, plutonium was extracted, then Manhattan project was done. So it is a group activity, but we call it Oppenheimer as the father of the atomic bomb, because during his time it happened. But then if you see, UK people are working in USA, they shared the knowledge. Russian is intercepted. I was told that that is the spying between Russia and USA. So USA people are spying from Russia. So all things were there. There are spying, there are people are sharing the knowledge, but France was also somewhere. But India, when it showed, it is isolated circle. Neither spying, nobody, because these are the classified activity, nobody tell us. But then we did of our one. So I was, that day I referred that Baba, Homi Jahangir Baba, probably he may be the father of, we can say he the Desi Oppenheimer. Then Raja Ramanna, Dr. Chidambaram, Kakodkar, they are all part of that activities, and we belongs to that generation. That was our pride. And it is a difficult job. And because we could do this, it is a demonstration of science and technology, to which level we can take it up. Because of that, on knowledge, we have stand on such a high platform, we could do anything today, what the department could do, or what is the future is. That's what I'm telling, that the book rightly says Indian rising, and it is really rising. And if you read this book, you will come to know all about that. So with this, sir, I thank you very much writing this book and making it available to rest of the people to read. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohanty, for a very interesting talk, very interesting anecdotes, and for revealing a lesser known facet of the multifaceted Dr. Chidambaram. Dr. Raj Gopal Chidambaram became the director of Baba Atomic Research Center in 1990. He served as chairman Atomic Energy Commission from 1993 to 2000 and was the principal scientific advisor to the Government of India and the chairman of the Scientific Advisory Committee to the Cabinet from 2001 to 2018. Until recently, Dr. Chidambaram was Homi Bhabha Professor in BRC, and presently he is the chairman, School for Advanced Studies in Nuclear Science and Technology at BRC. Dr. Chidambaram has made important contributions to many aspects of nuclear technology. He has DSc degrees from 30 universities from India and abroad. He has more than 200 research publications in refereed journals, and most importantly, all his research has been in India. He was chairman of the Board of Governors of the IAEA during 1994-95 and a member of the Executive Committee of the International Union of Crystallography from 1990 to 1999, serving as his Vice President for the last 3 years. He has been Chairman, Board of Governors, IIT Bombay and IIT Madras, and member Space Commission in 2009-2014. Dr. Chidambaram is currently Chairman of the Board of Governors at IIT Jodhpur and IIT Delhi. He is a fellow of all the major science academies in India and also the National Academy of Engineering and the World Academy of Sciences, Trieste, Italy. Throughout his career, he has received numerous awards and honors, including the C.V. Raman Birth Centenary Award, Distinguished Material Scientist of the Year Award, R.D. Birla Award, Homi Bhabha Lifetime Achievement Award, Lifetime Achievement Award of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, the C.V. Raman Medal, Lifetime Achievement Award of AP Academy of Sciences, and more recently, the Lifetime Achievement Award of the Council of Power Utilities. Dr. Chidambaram is one of the core group of scientists associated with the peaceful nuclear tests 1 and 2 conducted at Pokhran in 1974 and 1998. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1975 and the Padma Vibhushan, the second highest civilian award of the Government of India, in 1999. As Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, he spearheaded several key initiatives. Notably, accomplishments include establishing core advisory groups for R&D in diverse technology sectors, creating RUTAG, Rural Technology Action Group, in 7 IITs, founding SETS, Society for Electronic Transactions and Security, promoting centers of excellence in nanoelectronics and the National Knowledge Network, and launching an R&D program for the design of the Advanced Ultra Supercritical Thermal Plant. This program was carried out throughout a consortium of IGCAR, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, and NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, which has now been completed. It is an honor for me to invite Dr. Chidambaram to share his thoughts with us. Dr. Chidambaram.
Thank you, Manalji, for the kind introduction. Dr. Ajit Kumar Mohanty, Shri Umesh Kumar Rastogi, Dr. Minal Matre, Dr. Suresh Gangotra, and distinguished people in the audience and friends. It's a pleasure to be here for the release of the book. As it was mentioned, I have come to the Nehru Science Center many times. It's a beautiful place. You can particularly, I've brought groups here, I watched children being entertained here with and shown around the exhibition of, sometimes you hold exhibitions also for children. See, I have been very lucky to have worked in some of the great institutions, education research institutions in India. My honors degree was from Presidency College. The same college, in fact, the lectures were in the same classroom as C.V. Raman and S. Chandrasekhar. So happened. So we were always very happy to listen to that. Then the Indian Institute of Science, which when I joined it, IITs had not been created by at that time. This was considered the greatest research institution in the country. And then I joined back after my PhD. and have been there ever since. Even when I was offered the principal scientific advisor post by Prime Minister Bajpayee ji, I told him that I can spend only half the time in Delhi, the other half in BRC, so that I charge myself in Bar and discharge myself in Delhi. So he said, you do whatever you like. I've always been fascinated by physics and the achievements. Of course, we have got other scientists. J.C. Bose was there. But achievements of scientists like C.V. Raman, S.N. Bose, Satyendranath Bose. I don't know, many of you know, the physicists certainly know. There are only two kinds of fundamental particles. Spin half, you call them after Enrico Fermi, fermions. Spin zero, you call them bosons, after Satyendranath Bose. So he was that famous a man in those days. And then, of course, other great mathematician, Ramanujan, who has been called a magical genius. And when they were talking of super intelligent robots, people have said that no super intelligent robot created by man can ever match the genius of Ramanujan. So that's the kind of people we have had in India. Then others, Mahalanobis in statistics, then he contributed so much to our planning program. I see, after my PhD in Indian Institute of Science, I was working in nuclear magnetic resonance and was working on using proton magnetic resonance to look at hydrogen bonding in crystals. Those who are chemists and biologists would know that, see, the bond between carbon atoms, we call it covalent bonds. You take solid argon, you call it van der Waals interaction between the atoms, inert gases. But if you take ice, water molecules are connected together by what are called hydrogen bonds. It is somewhere, it's very flexible bond, and somewhere between van der Waals interaction and a covalent bond. I was studying hydrates using this nuclear magnetic resonance. Then Dr. K. Vedam, who had been invited by Dr. Raja Ramanna to start a program on neutron crystallography at the Cyrus reactor, somehow he had come from Pittsburgh. He couldn't settle in India, the family, so he wanted to go back. And he said, why not you come and take my post? I feel very bad leaving that group. And that is how I joined the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Of course, we have had wonderful, brilliant colleagues. We have done a lot of work on hydrogen bonding. When I was giving an interview, when I was talking about the hydrogen bond, and the interviewer, did you say hydrogen bond or hydrogen bomb? And I said, not bomb, bond. Then, of course, we have gone through Pokhran 1 and Pokhran 2. There are 2 chapters in the book dealing with this. In fact, in 1967, when Dr. Raja Ramanna asked me to take over this work, I told him, I know nothing about this field. I'm in a completely different, no, he said, go ahead and do it. And I found it's not all that difficult to do it. Then, of course, I've discussed it in book also, apart from the kind of memoir book. Some very important issues in India, importance of basic sciences. Should never forget. I've always said you can't build a technology superstructure without the foundation of basic research. Otherwise, one day the superstructure will collapse. In fact, United Nations recognized it and made 2022 the year of basic sciences in order to encourage basic sciences. And then, of course, I have been very interested encouraging women in science, in interdisciplinary research, and all that. I will not go into this, all there in the book. Maybe you can ask questions, I can answer. I don't know how many of you have had a time, will have a time to read the book, but you can ask anything. Question you can ask, answer I may or may not give. That's a different issue. See, to summarize, in my view, India is unstoppable. India will grow. Nobody can stop India's growth. Of course, being a democracy, sometimes you can't go straight. Because of the pulls and pushes, we go this way, that way. Finally, we reach our destination. So somebody asked me, would you like to have worked in some other countries, autocratic country? I said, no, but I would love to work only in India. So I'll stop here and wait for you to ask questions and hope I'm able to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chidambaram, for your very, very good musings about throughout your life and career and sharing them with us. There has been a slight change now since Dr. Chidambaram wants to have the question and answer session. So, no, it's okay. It's all right. No problem. It's all right, sir. No, it's all right. We will have the interaction session between Shri Kennard and Dr. Chidambaram with active participation from the audience. So I invite Shri Kennard to start the interactive session. Please. Meanwhile, I'll introduce to you Shri Kennard. I am pleased to introduce Shri Shiva Prasad Kennard, an electronics and communication engineer with over 3 decades of experience in the field of museums. He has curated numerous national and international exhibitions covering a wide range of subjects, including science, culture, cricket, history, and works of scientists. Shri Kennard has served as director and CEO of 3 major national level science centers and museums in India: National Science Centre, New Delhi, Industrial and Technology Museum, Bangalore, and National Gallery of Modern Art, NGMA, Bangalore. Until recently, he held the position of Curator and Director of Science Museum and NGMA, Mumbai. His contributions have earned him prestigious recognitions, such as being nominated for the Eastern Eye Arts, Culture and Theatre Awards in 2018 for curating the Cricket Connects India and England exhibition presented at historic venues like Lord's Stadium and the Nehru Science Centre in London, Birmingham and Edinburgh. He was also appointed as the Nodal Officer by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, for the Illuminating India 5000 Years of Science and Innovation exhibition held at London Science Museum. Shri Kennard was involved in establishing 3 new science centers and 4 science and innovation activity centers and galleries, including the acclaimed Our Science and Technology Heritage Gallery at National Science Centre, New Delhi. His literary contributions include 60 popular science articles and research papers and 4 exhibition catalogues. He has authored more than 170 well-researched blogs on various topics. In recognition of his efforts, he was honored with the prestigious 16th NES Jagadguru Shankaracharya Shri Jayendra Saraswati National Award for Research and Development in Science and Technology Education in 2017. I request Sri Kenneth now to please begin the interactive session.
Indeed, it's an honor for us at the Nehru Science Center, which incidentally shares its date of birth with your date of birth, as Umesh very kindly mentioned. So I'll take on from what the Chief Guest started with. Pallav, in his own quintessential style of a journalist, talked about the Desi Oppenheimers. There's a small little difference in the Oppenheimer of America and our Desi Oppenheimer. For example, the book based on which the film has been done, it's called American Prometheus. He was badly wounded, bruised, post the historic achievement that of becoming the project director and in the Manhattan Project. And they call it as a triumph and tragedy of Robert Oppenheimer. He was discriminated, although in India, the Desi Oppenheimers, all of you, were respected by the Indian society. Literally, each one of you have been worshipped across the country. But then there has been discrimination by the developed world, particularly US, the whole of the Western world, in terms of giving technology. That's where you called as each one of you tried to, despite the discrimination, extensive discrimination, developed your own Pokhran 1 and 2 with all those, what you call that, embargo, not to take even smallest of things like, I remember there was some sodium chloride, Kakodkar writing in his book, it was wrongly mentioned as something, and then even that was not allowed to be imported. Such has been the discrimination that you all faced. How did you manage this?
No, you see, there is, sorry. No, it's coming. I didn't hold it. Are you able to hear me? Is okay? Fine. See, bark has tremendous capabilities. There is nothing, as I've always said, BRC cannot do. Of course, in its area of specialization. So it was not difficult for us, because when you can build nuclear reactors indigenously, which has got materials of all kinds of material, different cross sections, absorption cross sections, and so on and so forth. Nuclear wise, there is no difficulty as far as the weapon goes. The problem really was in shockwave propagation, in which we didn't have much experience. So that was the one, that field we had to cover. And fortunately, Raja Ramanna and Dr. Nag Chaudhary were good friends, both nuclear physicists. And Nag Chaudhary at that time was the DRDO chief. So Ramanna arranged my visit to go to TBRL Chandigarh, Terminal Ballistics Research Lab Chandigarh. Of course, they know how to cast explosives. So I designed the lenses. See, the spherical plane wave lens is, you see what happens in a normal lens? Air has one refractive index. Glass has one refractive index. You send it from one, it refracts. And you design the lens in all the rays meet at one point. Principle is exactly the same in designing, and this was being done by them. But our problem was not with plane wave lenses. We had to do spherical lenses. And a spherical wave for implosion which covered the entire surface. That's the one I designed. And my crystallography background helped, because it's a symmetry problem also. That was the major thing. Rest of it, there was nothing much.
So there's one interesting quote that you mentioned. Your dream is to, economically developed, scientifically advanced, and militarily strong India. In your 6 decades long journey, rising from, like you rightly pointed out, from joining BRC in 1962 to becoming the principal scientific advisor for 17 years, 17 long years. So what you feel, sir, India rising, of course you've given the title, and you really have articulated your feeling about the country. So I know in your book also you elaborately explained about that. Is the glass half full or half empty, in your opinion?
See, economically developed, our GDP has to go up. Our gross domestic price is happening. Because you can't jump from here to there, you have to go along. That has to be a continuous process. Also, there is what is called a Human Development Index, which is defined by the United Nations in terms of 3 parameters: GDP, life expectancy at birth, and adult literacy. So I have said you can define it in terms of 2 parameters: per capita electricity consumption and female literacy. I prefer female literacy to adult literacy, because whenever the average literacy is low, female literacy is much lower, because it's always lower than, and the difference is more the lower the average Go to a place like Kerala, hardly any difference between male and female literacy. For all I know, female literacy may be higher than male literacy, because of the history of Kerala. But things are improving in India. Even in eastern UP, Odisha and all that, the female literacy is going up. And per capita electricity consumption, the more electricity is produced, more industrial production. So that you can replace by per capita electricity production or consumption. But I have shown you can even replace life expectancy at birth by per capita electricity consumption. See, the more electricity you have, the more it will go to small towns and villages. They will have better medical facilities. Health parameters improve. There is proof of that. So per capita electricity consumption directly affects all health parameters, including the ultimate one, life expectancy at birth. That's why I had put what I had put.
Yeah, in fact, I was about to come to that question only. In fact, among all the sustainable development goals that UN is talking about, you succinctly put it as per capita electricity consumption and female literacy.
Maybe I can add a little.
Yes,
now
sir.
that Chairman Atomic Energy Commission is there, where will you go for energy? No? Fossil fuels are going to run out sooner or later, because there is only limited amount of fossil fuels. And the carbon dioxide you emit from them goes and settles upstairs, traps the infrared radiation, and the world is warming. Already is warmed. 2 degrees is ultimate limit, beyond which it will, there is going to be disaster. So you have to go for sources of energy which don't emit carbon dioxide. Renewable energy is good. Solar energy, absolutely. But it's intermittent. The sun is there, you get the energy. If you look at all this, where do you go? Nuclear energy. Ultimately, nuclear energy has to be a very important option for India in this context. Now you can ask.
Yes. I think when Gangotra ji talked about being a Santa Claus, I think one can connect, sir. One chapter in your memoir is dedicated to women in science, and that also in a way relates to your concept of Human Development Index of female literacy. So there are so many things that 66 decades of service with working in so many areas, being the principal scientific advisor for 17 years, launched so many, National Knowledge Commission, ISTEM, and so many things. But you chose this, women in science. That clearly shows you have something very specific to say that the development of women literacy, women in science perhaps in a way will help in India rising. So is it that reason, or why women in science? It's normally in science women.
No, there have been famous women scientists. The Curies, for instance, were very, very famous. Dorothy Hodgkin, who was more or less in my field, she was a famous protein crystallographer who solved the structure of vitamin B12. So she had actually visited Bark also, Dorothy Hodgkin. See, what happens is, if you plot the career of a young person, the man's career keeps going straight. No? The woman's career starts maybe with a higher slope in the beginning. Because whichever college I have gone to, I have found that more prizes are won by girls than boys. That's a different issue in the beginning. But then they marry. Social necessity. And if they are in the same town, little disruption in their work. But if they moved, and by and large the man is older than the girl in our country, by and large. So even for economic reasons, the girl has to move to the city, apart from social customs, where the boy is there. And there, even if they continue to work, career takes a drop. Further drops when the first child comes. The man is continuously going, he is not bothered, he is going. All this you put together, this disrupts the career. So, of course, there are many methods which are used in order to take care of this. But this is what I was trying to put across in that chapter on women in science. In spite of that, there have been, of course, very famous women scientists.
And although there are 17, 18 chapters, everyone will be pivoted on 2 chapters, which is Pokhran 1 and 2. The more you try to hide, the more one is very curious to know about. So I've seen in the chapter, particularly the Pokhran 2, you have stressed more on scientifically the proving or maybe the methods of trying to measure the yield. By any chance, I mean, just a question that whether the unfortunate incident that happened in 2009, the 2 of our colleagues, Santanam sir and Iyengar sir, whether does that have to do with that, the way you've given, the way it's peer reviewed in science, or anyone who reads that makes it's amply clear that the whatever has been claimed, which you only very succinctly, you just talked about the press conference that you and Dr. Kakodkar had, but the chapter gives you more details as to how what you say is right and what has been told is perhaps apocryphal statement that was made by 2 of your colleagues. Was it like that, sir? Sorry to use this.
No, it's nothing. See, of course, I won't tell you the design of the device. Rest of it, size of the crater and everything is open. It's a yield of a device is a volume. Radius of a crater is a one dimension. Everything else you optimize. You will know the size of the radius of the crater must be related to the cube root of the yield. Actually, a lot of energy goes in heat, so actually goes by 1 by 3.4. So if somebody comes and asks me twice the yield, why not twice the crater size, it makes no scientific sense. This is what we... The explanation.
But you've downplayed it. I was just wondering because in India, in a democracy...
No, it was just as... No, we leave it at that. We say it was a scientific question. They had a doubt and we clarified.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's a fair doubt. There is nothing wrong in somebody asking. That's how science grows.
Yes, absolutely.
And then somebody has to explain. If he's claiming something, you explain why it is so. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong.
That's interesting. There's another thing that I was intrigued. Still, I mean, of course, you're grounded the very fact that some of the street children, when you saw them, shared all your 100 notes with each one of them and felt that where are they staying.
Sorry?
Your experience recently when you went for the interview, you saw the street children in the rain. and they didn't have a house. That's what he said, and you shared all your 100 notes. You're always grounded, even in 1964, when 64 or 65, when you went to ORNL. You have described about in US, they wanted you to be adequately, well equipped with US, and then eating with hand was found for them to be. You talked about that, and they immediately passed you.
No, what happens was I went to the US first time after my PhD. Under the US, what they call a USAID program, where they have people from all countries, whether India, Asian countries, African countries. And their whole idea was to tell them about the American way of life, which is different from your own way of life. So these people, on even the very first lecture, on the very first day, maybe the very first lecture, the leader of that group was telling us, last year, there was a man from Nigeria who was eating with his hand. And we don't do that. We eat with knife and fork. So I raised my hand and said, what is wrong with eating with the hand? No, we don't eat with the hand. I told him, when I eat with my hand, I have washed my hand thoroughly before going to eat. You eat with knife and fork, you don't know how well it has been bashed. It has been washed. And for all you know, the guy who washed it might have a skin infection on his hand. No? Now this went on for some time. At the end of the first hour lecture, they said the people have decided you don't need any more briefing. You please go to the lab you were supposed to go, they said.
I think what we should do is, Dr. Chidambaram also wanted some questions from the audience also. So
Sir,
could you
first,
please identify yourself, sir? And then-
I am Manchanda, retired from BRC. Sir, more than your inning as director BRC or chairman AEC, you have spent time in Delhi as principal scientific advisor. But what really impresses all of us is your inning was long and you worked with 3 different personalities. Whether it is Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Manmohan Singh, or our present Prime Minister. So we are very keen to actually learn from you. Such a long inning, working very different characters altogether. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a poet, Manmohan Singh, an economist, and very careful about his words, and our present Prime Minister, I don't want to say anything more, but please tell something about your own interaction with these people, which you have not covered in the book. And some anecdotes, please help us. And you have a powerful narration. so let us hear
all
from you.
these are very good. The names you mentioned have all been very good prime ministers in their own way. And they all had great respect for science and scientists. So I did nothing and nothing happened. As simple as that. I went on doing my work and sending reports from whatever we were doing in the PSA's office to them. And I got very large. Sometimes it becomes also interesting. In the early part, Mr. Arun Shourie was a very good electronics minister. Arun Shourie, more like us in discussion. Now they asked me to give a keynote speech in some electronics year celebration that we were holding. And he should have given an introductory talk and I should have given the keynote speech. But he said, no, let him talk first, I'll talk later. I said, fine, I'll talk. So in my talk I said, we missed the microelectronics revolution. We should not miss the nanoelectronics revolution. When he came to speak, He said, PSA says we should not miss the nanoelectronics revolution. But he is the PSA, what is he doing about it, you know? I was the principal scientific advisor. So I said, I'll come and talk to you. I said, give me 150 crores. I went and talked to him. Give me 150 crores, we will have an open, transparent brainstorming session and select 2 places where we will set up world-class nanoelectronic centers. And he said, we'll give. And we had a brainstorming session. That is how the 2 centers in Institute of Science, Bangalore and IIT Bombay were. They are now world-class centers. Now, of course, more have come. So, you know, they are all respectful of science, provided you give them good ideas. They are willing to do. Eh?
Willing to listen.
Willing to listen.
So were mentioning one day that when this present Prime Minister took over, you had gone to him and told him, sir, I have had enough of it. So
I
let
didn't
me
say
go.
that. No. I didn't say that. No, what he is referring to, I have referred to this here. When Modi ji came to power, I told him already 77. You might like to have a younger man as your principal scientific advisor. And Modi told me, what has age got to do with science? Then he told me I was working with Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was a Congress chief. Then Modi ji told me, what has politics got to do with science? And the conversation over. So I continued. But at the end of that term, another 5 years, I said, now I want to go back to Bach. Because you see, we had an arrangement. I had told him, I said, maybe I mentioned it in my talk, that I can't spend all my time in Delhi. Because whatever knowledge I have will also get dissipated. I can spend only half the time. I go back to Bach the remaining half. As I mentioned, I charge myself in Bombay, Bach, discharge myself in Delhi. So he had said, do whatever you like. That arrangement continued. But then at the end of the first term, I said, now I am going. Wanted to be back with Bach. Whatever he said, traveling, involved a lot of traveling between Bombay and Delhi.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, you also spoke, in your introduction, you talked about, you studied in the same presidency college where C.V. Raman was there, S. Chandrasekhar was there. And you've given one full chapter on basic science. Talked about all the Renaissance scientists in Bengal, whether it is Saha or J.C. Bose. And
Absolutely.
is it that foundation which, in fact, Pandit Nehru, what he called as temples of modern India, that is that, and the other part of it is the foundation that atomic energy laid for self-sustenance or reliance. This is what actually I feel has risen to the present times. I mean, in your, because it's 60 years and so much to write, yet you talked about the importance of basic science.
You want me to comment?
Yes, sir. What you feel is the status now?
Maybe mentioned before, you can't build a technology superstructure without the foundation of basic research. I'll tell you an example from Manhattan Project. Manhattan Project, when molten plutonium, when you cool it, it first goes into the delta phase when it solidifies, 15 gram per cc. Then you bring it down to room temperature, it goes to alpha phase, 19 gram per cc. Now the problem was, you create a phase of a lower density, take it to a higher density, it becomes porous, cannot be used in a nuclear weapon. So our friends, all the engineers, everybody, all of them, they tried to keep it pressed when nothing worked when they solid. Finally they went and asked Cyril Stanley Smith, was a basic research scientist. Eh?
Metallurgist.
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 Basic research, metallurgist. You also mentioned it somewhere in your talk. He said you put 3% gallium into it, it never will go to the alpha phase, problem solved. Because he had studied the phase diagram of plutonium and gallium. Anyway, maybe other trivalent also you can use, but gallium. So everybody who makes nuclear weapons now doesn't use pure plutonium, but plutonium gallium alloy. But he was a basic research scientist. He was not interested in nuclear weapons, but he had the solution. That's why whenever you do technology development, you must be surrounded by basic research scientists, or you must have access to basic research scientists who are capable of solving any problem that may arise. Otherwise, one day there could be a problem.
So you also talked about velocity of research. From the time that you entered in 1962 and passing through these periods of before economic liberalization now, and also the bureaucratic hurdles that the scientists tend to face, is there a possibility for hastening this velocity?
See, two things are involved here when you do research: the scientist and the equipment. I cannot say, or nobody can ever say, the scientists today can be more brilliant than the scientists we had earlier. But on the other hand, we now have much better equipment. In the old days, calculation, I remember doing it my student days. Some hand wrote the computer. We didn't have a computer. We had a machine. Slide rule. Now you see, you do anything. Of course, sometimes people get lazy. They differentiate sin x in the computer, which is of course absurd. They should know sin x differentiate if you get cos x. So you shouldn't overuse the computer, but use the computer. So don't forget your mathematics. But those facilities have made a lot of difference to you.
Anyone from the audience?
You had very long research career. Can you tell us two of your contributions where you felt very happy yourself?
Very difficult to say. You see, my early work on hydrogen bonding, that was my PhD thesis. I don't know how many of you know about hydrogen bonds. Any two electronegative atom, take oxygen. Oxygen and oxygen. Hydrogen bond is there in ice. Water molecule is surrounded by 4 other water molecules in a tetrahedral configuration. OHO. Distance may be 2.75 angstroms. OH is 1 angstrom, that is the covalent bond. The other one is the hydrogen bond interaction with the other. HOH angle is 104.5 degrees. Tetrahedral angle is 109.5 degrees. So part of my PhD thesis, we know, very difficult to open out a covalent bond angle. It's very expensive in energy. That is when I introduced the concept of bent hydrogen bonds. Bent hydrogen, you can take it off the line, nothing happens. Very little loss of energy. So that was one of my early things of introducing the concept of bent hydrogen bonds. Then we have done high pressure physics, phase transformation, alpha phase to the omega phase. There was some very interesting results that we got. It happens in titanium and zirconium and all that. And the kinetics decided by the oxygen impurity. And Mr. Sivi Sundaram, my late friend, brilliant metallurgist, he got prepared from me for the metallurgy division titanium alloys with controlled oxygen impurity. That was very exciting work. The alpha to omega transformation and the kinetics of that. Equation of state has been the very exciting thing. We wrote equation of state of materials under high pressure. Static pressure, shock pressure, because the shock also heats the material. And that is what is needed that in designing nuclear weapons. That one, of course we can't show shock waves, but we started this vegetarian high pressure program so that most of it can be done there, and that went off. We are one of our group rather, I am no longer active there. High pressure physics group in the world now.
Thank you so much. You must have had hundreds of them. I'm very happy to know 2 of them.
Sorry?
You must have had several of them. I wanted just 2. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any more questions, please? Srini has brought out some lighter moments in the book, like Vittal. Yeah.
First of all, congratulations, Dr. Chidambaram. I'm going to be going against the print media a bit.
Can you come forward?
Yes.
If you are going against, at least let me see your face clearly. Yes.
Brilliant work, of course, in the Penguin edition. But they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we would like to see you in at least a digital or a animated or a biopic version. And I'm sure there is a lot of excitement and lots of stuff that you haven't shared with us. And this is just a humble suggestion.
Thank you.
And the way you are handling questions, I say that you have diplomatically taken a retreat.
Yes, absolutely.
And you would be more than a match for the oral and a visual medium. Thank you.
Thank you. Venkatesh Verma, you want to comment on that?
Actually, I was about to bring in, sir.
He's in the Indian Foreign Service.
In fact, sir has contributed one chapter in that. And diplomacy, you talked about he's written extensively.
Yeah. A great honor to be present here today, sir, along with the Atomic Energy family, which adores you. The nation adores you. I can tell you, all of India's diplomats also adore you. They adore you, but they also...
He was a leading officer from the Indian Foreign Service.
Yeah.
You know, okay. Yes, go ahead, please.
So Dr. Chidambaram has many facets. Depending on the situation, he will bring out that particular face of Mr. Chidambaram. When the situation is very tricky, he is a very good diplomat. When the situation gets tough, you cannot have a person tougher than Dr. Chidambaram. If our nuclear weapon program is today up and running, India's rising is today related to our nuclear capabilities. Dr. Chidambaram's achievement, his contribution to the nation, its security and its future is priceless. And he has done it not just in the scientific field, but he's also done it through his leadership in the international field. Because the first question you asked, what were the international pressures? He has brushed it aside like a small fly because we have overcome those pressures. But it was not easy in those years. And Dr. Chidambaram was a rock solid figure of support and advice during the nuclear deal negotiations. Everybody at the government, the Ministry of External Affairs, the Department of Atomic Energy, Dr. Kakotkar and Dr. Grover, who's sitting with me, who was my partner. We were together, Dr. Suresh Gangotra. It was a long journey, not an easy journey. But any problem that we had, and there were many problems. As you all know, the nuclear deal went through many near-death experiences. But at every stage, Dr. Chidambaram's advice, his vision, his fortitude, and his great courage, I think helped save the deal. It helped save our nuclear weapon program. And in that, we all owe an immense measure of gratitude to Dr. Chidambaram. So it's been a great honor to contribute in my small way, sir, a chapter in your book. Thank you very much.
Adding on to what he said, there were nail-biting moments, sir. During the nuclear deal, like what he said, there must have been nail-biting.
You want to mention about the Hyde Act? That's what you were referring to.
Yes.
See, when the Hyde Act came about, there was a discussion amongst the Prime Minister was chairing the meeting.
Hyde was a US congressman.
And everybody was very tense because it was a very difficult moment. So Dr. Chidambaram said, "Sir, it is not the Hyde Act, it is the hideous act." And everybody started laughing. So we remember that.
Yes. Maybe, sir, I think these nail-biting moments you cherished because you also are, and is continuing to be a very ardent cricket fan, and you played cricket as well. Oh, you're used to these nail-biting moments, I think.
No, that would have been very bad for us. The way it was very cleverly worded, but it would have trapped us in a very difficult situation. Yeah.
I'll just share something. Few of us negotiated safeguards agreement for India with the IAEA. 2 of us were in the team, and I think Dr. Raghuraman was there in the initial part. I also saw him here. Then Dr. K.L. Ramkumar, whether he's here? No. Okay. So after all the negotiations were over, agreement was final. We returned after the final visit came to India, and Dr. Kakotkar told me that I must brief Dr. Chidambaram about the agreement in totality. So Dr. Kakotkar and me, both of us met you, sir, in Delhi guest house, Dhruva guest house, and it was a long meeting. I still remember several questions which you asked. After that, you said, okay, everything is okay. And it was a big relief for me at that time when we heard from you that everything is fine. Thank you.
Any other questions, please? Sir, Raghuram, sir. Sir, there is.
Sorry to take this mic, sir. I was tempted. I have written few instances which I had the privilege to be with him. But now that Dr. Venkatesh Verma was mentioning, the one which I like to recall is there in the mention is when he met Bill Richardson, the US secretary, he was head of the delegation for the US.
You must
and it was soon.
Many people may not know the position you had at that time.
I was in Vienna as a scientific advisor to the ambassadors, an alternate to him. It was a post-Booker and diplomatic fallout that we were trying to handle it. And imagine it was in 1998, May we did it, and June board and subsequent general conference was there. As Dr. Venkatesh Verma was mentioning, he has his fingerprint and he's got his own style of getting things done. There are 2 things I would like to mention in that. You see, India has been a designated member in the IAEA right from the day of inception. It's based on the capability, indigenous capability that we have, etc. So usually what happens, the June board selects, there's no permanent kind of thing where we select 13 members based on the capability, etc. So we've been there. So there was rumor going on that, because Pakaran is there, so we may not be in the board kind of thing. Being a foot soldier, I faithfully told him, a couple of days it was to be over. Spontaneously he said, what's the question? If they are not there, you please walk out, come with your baggage, that's all. We won't be the member of that. And it had a terrific impact. So when we said that US delegation, they're all is it what, they said that what the instructions are, etc. So they didn't want this to happen. So what happened before the board took it up, the US ambassador, John Rich took that and said that let's follow the rich tradition of the Vienna. We always go by consensus. We adopt enough consultation. So first let us adopt and then go for discussions. And therefore, the whole thing was over and India was just into it. This is one thing. And similarly, when at the General Conference, when Bill Richardson, they came face to face, so diplomats were wondering how to break the ice with US, etc. So there was head of the thing. So when he was introduced, he's 6 foot tall. So he was holding Dr. Chidambaram's hand. Oh, you are Dr. Chidambaram who was shaking the world. He spontaneously said, now you are shaking me, therefore you are shaking. So I was so spontaneous, he started laughing like anything. The ice broke there. He said, where's the kind of thing? So you are the guy who's shaking me, man. What the hell you are talking kind of stuff. Similarly, he was teasing him by telling him, what Dr. Chidambaram, you are talking about it. The cream of cream, I'm just taking there, the brain drain. Simply looks at me, Raghunaman, how many scientists and engineers that you are bringing? Who knows? I simply think 328,000 or whatever it is, huge figure. He said, out of which how much you has taken? Few hundred. You call it as a brain drain? It's a brain overflow, man. You take as
No, I said, by the way, I must say, that brain overflow was conceived of by Dr. Lakshman Sai Modaliar. I quoted him.
No, whatever it is, but there the impact was, you can't talk about Dr. Goa there. There it had a telling effect, he was just taken aback. And then we also brought in him nicely, I should thank you because technology denied his technology gain, and he quoted our param value, etc., supercomputer. I said, don't worry, you keep on denying it, we'll keep on improving it. That is such a lovely impact, and the international one I can never forget. Thank you very much, sir. There are many things like that I can keep on going.
I'm not from Atomic Energy. My name is Gopalakrishnan. We had a wonderful time when the scientists were felicitated by SIES. That was way back, a few months after the 98 explosion had taken place. And Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, they were all in one stage. And we had almost 200 young students from SIES. Sir, my appeal to you, humble appeal to you is, I think we should have more and more interaction with the young minds of this country, because you have written India Rising. That is where I think it should be rising. And I'm sure when they see the guts in our scientists, the way you all have fought for our country and then produced all this at the world stage, when some kind of extreme bias was there, how you have fought it out silently and then succeeded. And this kind of things are shared with young minds. It will make them become more and more interested in science. Thank you.
Sorry, sir, everybody has been talking about science and nuclear explosions and bombs and whatnot. But the personality of Dr. Chidambaram, another aspect, absolutely different. He never bosses around. I'll give you one example. We all stayed in Zarlina, and of course, the chairman stays on the 12th floor, and we have a nice tennis court. But we have a tradition, whoever comes first place, that is his tradition. If we are three of us at the court, he will shout from the 12th floor, Anand, मैं चौथा नंबर में आ रहा हूँ. Now that's it. That is what makes him Dr. Chidambaram.
Srini, I think you brought out some the personal aspect of it, including even during the marriage time, how the discussion went in a different direction, all about. Maybe you would like to have ask some.
First, I must thank Dr. Oh, thank you. Dr. Gangotra, thanks so much for giving us this opportunity. Is it working? Yes. Okay. So what I'm saying is, I just want to tell you briefly how this whole thing came about. I was in Pune, and one afternoon I got a call from Mr. Gangotra saying that would like to meet you. So I said, fine, I'm in Pune, but when I return to Mumbai, I'll definitely call you. I returned to Mumbai, called him, and Ruchira and I both went. Remember that meeting we had in Oasis? Chembur. We discussed this project, and it is a great honor for me to write for this. But I must say one thing, Dr. Gangotra and all of you, if this is readable, what I've written, I would like to give some credit to Ruchira. She groomed it pretty well, fine-tuned. She's a very busy person, I must say. Good friend of mine, but extremely busy. I say, why don't you appoint me as your PA? But she says, no, your application is rejected all the time. But it has been, I must say it was a great experience, and Dr. Chidambaram and family friends, and being more than a friend, family member. And I hope this thing continues, and it's been a great honor, sir. Thank you so much.
He is the famous R.K. Lakshman.
Srinivas.
One thing, they want me to mention this. Who's this gentleman from SIS College? You? Wife is okay. What happened was, you mentioned that episode, right? Dr. Kalam was there. I was there covering it. Dr. Kalam got very angry with me afterwards. Because next day we were leaving for Goa. I remember that. We were leaving for Goa that day. And I don't like to go about saying, frankly speaking, let me be very honest about it. I'm proud of my dad, very proud. But I don't announce it. Professionally, I don't. Shake hands saying we are proud. Proud. You resemble him. You resemble him. Fine, great. But professionally, I don't. When people say this, Kalam didn't know this. I used to meet Dr. Kalam in various, at IIT or various colleges. Somebody in SIS went and told him that, Lakshman's son and all. He got so angry. I believe that said afterwards, it was quite some time I met him after that only. But this is the incident I remember very clearly.
Anyone else, please?
I am Dinesh Shukla. Many of here may not know. I am from AERB, but before joining AERB, I was in BRC for 33 years. We have been talking about Dr. Chidambaram, and somewhere it was mentioned by Mr. Sharma as well as by you, that some places is the toughest and somewhere is diplomatic. Now, I will give one example. In my younger days, when I was shift engineer in Dhruva, there was something which has happened. I don't know whether it has been touched in the book or not, because I have yet to read that book. There was unprecedented thing in a scientific community never heard of. There was an operators strike. Now, sir may remember he was director BRC that time. This is totally unheard of. In a scientific organization, in a operating reactor, Dhruva was operating, and a flash strike by the operators. And now what to do? This was a very difficult situation. Where comes the diplomacy as well as the toughness coming into the picture? He took the thing. That time we were the shift engineers, so we do not know what transpired between director BRC and the management in Dhruva. But the instruction came, reactor shall not be shut down. All engineers and scientific officers must take charge in the round-the-clock shift to do the operator's job and continue the production of radioisotope, supply of radioisotope regularly on the scheduled weekly schedule. And that was done. All of us were put, all engineers and officers were put in the round-the-clock shift. Everyone was allotted the job of those operators. We were all sitting in basement, sub-basement, taking reading, all reading sheet, whatever operators were doing. And finally, taking out the tray rod where these isotope samples are there, putting it in the hot cell, using master-slave manipulators, and taking out those samples, loading them in the flask, operating the forklift, and somehow managing the show. And isotopes were delivered. Now, two things I am trying to bring in. The people of that genre who made these officers capable of doing all these things beyond doing their scientific work, which helped, and ultimately, after few days, that strike broke off, just because of the tough and diplomatic both side of this. So this was to share, but now I have a question to you, sir. with 6 decades of this experience, where that most importantly you have seen the evolution of the whole nuclear technology as well as the fraternity, the way it has evolved. My question is, I feel a bit, what I should say, I don't have the right word, that is regarding the balance or graded approach. When an organization grows, it becomes a very big. So initial stages when organization is small, things are a bit different. But when it grows to very big, there are many positive aspects, but then there are some negative things also do come in when organization grows to a very big dimension. Specifically, as you brought out just in your discussion, it came out that basic science, the importance of basic science, where you have to put a lot of investment without expecting immediate return. This is what is being hammered out most of the time. People think that just put something and something will come out. So that type of expectations, how to negate it so that the more and more emphasis could be put on the basic science. At the same time, now in the same organization there are applied science work also. There are project work also. There are a lot of O&M activities also. So how to work out the balance among all these things, all are important so that nothing is negated, at the same time, nothing is given too much importance on the cost of others. So this is my basic question, to seek a guidance from your side.
See, you have raised a question of leadership. Obviously this requires leadership, because the leader must know how to divide responsibilities. Basic thing is finally boils down to manpower. You must create an environment where everybody is contributing to his maximum capability, but at the same time you are satisfying all the requirements of the organization. Not an easy way to do all this, but that's what has to be done. Partly when you recruit and partly when you assign the work. There's no other solution. It can be done though. It has been done in major organizations. You take Baba for instance. I always tell the story of the yogi and the commissar, costless division. Yogi is the contemplative thinker, then commissar is the man of action. All of us are a mixture of both. So depending on the situation, you have to change the proportion and make sure. That's what Baba did. Theoretical physicist, landscape artist, delegated power to all the people. That's also very important. You must learn how to delegate. Create a leadership swarm around. Baba did. You must create a leadership swarm. Though even in the absence of the leader, the work gets done. But as I said, there is no easy solution.
I think, last question.
It's absolutely, what you said is so resonant, because I once asked Dhirubhai Ambani this question, and he gave the same answer, slightly naughtily. He said that you should have the guts to surround yourself with people possibly smarter than you.
And it's time to end now because it will go on and on. It's almost yeah.
Hello. I don't have a question, but I have a small story from a youngster's perspective. I have been I have grown up in an era where we have seen and we have heard stories of Dr. Chidambaram and Dr. Kakodkar as superheroes. right? And as science teachers have told us about them as if they were superheroes of our country and they have done something really great. And I feel so fortunate that I got chance to, I was not associated with him in any way, but I got chance to see him. I got chance to interact with him and had some lovely interactions with him. Here I would like to highlight only 2 interactions where, I think my generation, something which we all should learn from him and take forward from this particular person and learn from him. I think we visited him at his place for R.K. Lakshman's project. And by the time our team was setting up a lot of things, I got chance to sit with him in his living area. And we both were talking. He asked me about my startup, and we started discussing about education. And I remember he spoke about the knowledge economy, and he remembered some cartoons of Lakshman. He has this amazing picture memory that even we don't know those cartoons, he knows captions as well. He knows where is that cartoon, how he has drawn it, and he knows all the details. And he started talking about those cartoons, and at one point, he started thinking about something. He asked me to wait. He went inside, and he started his computer, and then he searched for one cartoon there. And finally, he found that cartoon on the internet, and then he asked me to come in his room. He showed me that cartoon, and then he said, "This is the cartoon I wanted to show you, but I didn't mention this cartoon because I was not sure about the content." I think in this era when we suddenly just, whatever comes to our mind, we just announce that, we talk about it. Even though he knew about it, he wanted to confirm because he had that 0.1%, he was not sure about that for only 0.1%, but he took efforts to go to the PC and find out that cartoon and then come back to us and talk about it. So I think this is something which we all, particularly my generation, should learn from him. And there is this small second story which comes again with that one particular incident where I asked him about the questions, and he nicely mentioned one quote to me. He said, "Ruchira, always remember when you ask questions to someone, make sure that that person will add some value to that question." I mean, if you're talking to me, he gave this example to me saying, if you're talking to me and you come and ask me the information available in the newspapers and on Google about Pokhran, then it doesn't make sense. But if you come and ask me something where only me at Chidambaram can add some value, then that question makes sense. And as youngsters, you should always follow this thing. I think, when everyone was sharing all these stories, I just thought this is something that we all youngsters are learning from you. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Ma'am, I think, it's been a fascinating this thing, sir. And Gangotra Sahab has chosen a right time to release. I mean, 2 days back you had the Foundation Day, 1 day Apsara Day, and tomorrow is a Hiroshima Day. 5th is the day when we are launching this book. We wish on behalf of the Nehru Science Center, which incidentally had an honor, sir, along with the National Center for Science Communicator, to organize an event in memory of your 80th birthday at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So over to you, ma'am. Wishing, sir, all the very best, and may this book inspire the younger generation and ensure that India is really rising.
Thank you, Dr. Chidambaram, Shri Kennard, and the audience for an interesting and informative interactive session. With this, we do come to the end of today's function, but I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude. First and foremost, I express my sincere thanks to our esteemed dignitaries, Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. Mohanty, Shri Kennard, and Shri Rustagi, for gracing us with their presence and valuable insights. Your wisdom and expertise have enriched this occasion immensely. I also extend my thanks to all the distinguished guests in the audience, fellow scientists and media persons who have taken the time to join us to make this event more special. Your presence has made this gathering all the more meaningful. I would like to extend a special word of thanks to Shri Rastagi, the Director of Nehru Science Center, for his support and for providing us with all the necessary facilities, manpower, and resources to organize this event. Special thanks are due to Penguin Random House, India, for their efforts in publishing the book in such an engaging and appealing form. The book's presentation has truly complemented its rich content. A deep sense of appreciation goes to Dr. Chidambaram for sharing his life experiences in such a candid and explicit manner, to Dr. Gangotra for his tireless efforts in meticulously documenting Dr. Chidambaram's life, making the book an interesting read, and to Dr. Mohanty for his support and encouragement from the very inception of the project. To all of you present here, thank you for being such a receptive audience. Your interactive participation in the interactive session will undoubtedly enrich this experience further. Lastly, a special mention goes to all the dedicated volunteers behind the scenes whose efforts have contributed significantly to the success of this event. Now we have proceeded with the interaction session, and now I ask you to join for tea, which is served just outside the audience. Thank you very much.
Take this plant.
इसमें नाम भी लिया है सर.